Macklin Celebrini had a special rookie season. What's in store for year number 2?
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at The Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, or maybe just 3 times a week right now. So if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we are talking Macklin Celebrini. Last I checked, pretty good at the game. So we're going to review Celebrini's rookie season. Then we're going to start to look at what to expect for year number 2 by looking at how other first overall centers performed in year number 2 and tried to put together some realistic expectations for Celebrini as he continues to show why he is the pillar of the San Jose Sharks rebuild here. So not just the main pillar of the San Jose Sharks rebuild here. So before we get to all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Macklin Celebrini, pretty good. Thanks for listening to Locked On Sharks. So we know Celebrini had a very special rookie season that had him, end up being third in the Calder voting. Celebrini led the team in point, like the San Jose Sharks team in points. I think outperformed a lot of our expectations of what we expected out of Celebrini as an 18-year-old kid navigating his way through his first full NHL season, right? And of course, we got the first game. And then he got injured in that first game or was injured and couldn't compete. And we, it felt very much like you got a brand new toy at Christmas and then mom took it away for a little bit. And then you finally got it back after Halloween. But like Celebrini's season, I don't think me in particular, talked about just how amazing of a season Celebrini had last year. So, let's dig into it. What made Celebrini's season so great? So Celebrini, 6 foot, 190 pounds, 19 years old, just turned 19 about a month ago. He's got 2 years left on his ELC. He played 70 games last year, had 25 goals, 38 assists, led the team in points, 236 shots on goal while playing 1947 a night. Corsi for it. So when he was on the ice, the Sharks took 48.7% of the shot attempts. That was fourth on the team behind Tyler Toffoli, William Macklin, the only 2 players who had positive Corsi for, so basically anything over 50%. Jake Wallman, who got traded midway, at the trade deadline, and then Macklin Celebrini. Insane number for an 18-year-old kid. Goals for 44%. And again, for a team that was outscored by minus 105 goals or whatever it was. Pretty solid performance there, especially with the amount of workload Celebrini. Last year we did the full what should a Celebrini season look like, where we went through and we looked at every first overall pick who jumped straight to the NHL in the last 20 years, starting from Sidney Crosby all the way up to Connor Bedard. We looked at those, we kind of focused on the centers and tried to kind of figure out what would a Celebrini season look like. And I got to say, I feel like I was pretty close. The projected Celebrini season was 72 games, 23 goals, 33 assists, 57 points basically, at 0.8 points per game, averaging about 17 and a half minutes. Celebrini played 30 games, had 25 goals, 38 assists for 63 points, and at 0.9 points per game, while way over that, of course. And that just shows how special Celebrini is to earn that much ice time. So I would say I was in the ballpark for what to expect for Macklin Celebrini. So this year, though, like again, Celebrini and showing kind of why he was so good, playing for way above first line minutes, especially at 5-on-5, 63 percentile offensively, or 63 percentile overall, 62 percentile offensively, 30th percentile defensively. Again, the context there of a 18-year-old kid putting up those type of numbers defensively. Connor Bedard was a 2 percentile defensive player last season in his second year. And yes, we knew Celebrini was a much, more kind of well-rounded player than Bedard. But just that type of, acumen and understanding as a defensive in the defensive zone so far, that just leads you to believe once he, kind of continues to figure things out, just how good Celebrini is going to be in his own zone. Looking at his advanced hockey card, Celebrini, 82 percentile WAR player as an 18-year-old, 81 percentile offense, 8th percentile defensively, 63 percentile on the power play. Didn't get enough PK, and I think that will change here very quickly. 84th percentile finishing, 82nd percentile goal. Like everything Celebrini did, he excelled at. Played tough competition, 81st percentile in competition, while 62 percentile teammates there. So Celebrini performed as well as you could imagine, facing insane competition, and did everything you could ask for as an 18-year-old. My favorite thing, one of my favorite, like, cards or whatever, like, is Macklin Celebrini's all three zones. And this generally looks at like what he does, in the offensive zone, his transition game, what he does defensively, like, and it breaks it down. And if you're not watching on YouTube, it's a lot of dark blue and these type of cards usually indicates good things. In the offensive zone, just like maxed out dark blue cards, passing, he does a good job. The way he creates offense, either from the cycle or off the rush, like it doesn't matter. His zone entries are off the charts. Like the only thing he does bad is botched zone retrievals per 60. And that's okay. Like that's something he will just get better at. It's just how often does he botch his own exit and how often does he screw up his own exit. And he also is asked to exit the zone a lot for the Sharks. Like he just an insane card to look at from an 18-year-old perspective. And with Celebrini, his usage, he was utilized, like he played tough competition. Of course, he got a lot of offensive zone starts, which you'd expect, right? And he's considered an effective top 6 two-way forward by Dauber Hockey and the way he's utilized. So just a special season from Macklin Celebrini. And again, disappointing that he didn't win the Calder, and you wonder if he played the full season or if the Sharks were not the worst team in the NHL, like if he probably gets a little bit more consideration, or if Lane Hudson doesn't and the Canadians don't make the playoffs, or if the Flames aren't as close to making the playoffs, maybe he gets a little bit more. But again, I'm still taking Celebrini over both Wolf and Hudson or Hudson. Like I think it's, I think Celebrini is going to, in the long run, going to be the better, more impactful player than those two. And I don't think it's that controversial of a take to make, that I think Celebrini is just going to be I think Celebrini is destined for superstardom, like one of the best faces of the NHL, best players in the league type of players. And we just got a glimpse of it this season as an 18-year-old, as he was figuring out. And I do think throughout the season, like you saw night to night, like those flashes and those moments, those Macklin Celebrini things of the night that make him so special. And once he starts to consistently do those, every night and shift to shift, is what's going to make him such a great player. And at the end of the season, like it's fair to say he did wear down a little bit, which is to be expected, right? Going from a college game like where you're playing 40 games, 45 at max, to for him 70 games, and then that doesn't include preseason games and rookie faceoff games and everything else that Celebrini had to do. I mean, he was close. Imagine he's probably up, around 80 to 85 hockey games at some point during with everything that he was asked to do this offseason, and won't really have to kind of go through that this year, right? Macklin Celebrini didn't have to do the rookie face-off. Is not like, I would not expect Celebrini to be in the rookie showcase tournament with the Ducks and the Kings later this month, early in August or September, whatever it is. But like, he's going to be, can spend the whole season just preparing and training and getting ready for a full NHL season. And I fully expect him to not hit that kind of rookie wall that we saw this year. So, which I guess leads to the question, well, what should we expect for Macklin Celebrini in year 2? So let's look at how other 1Cs or first overall centers, how they performed in year 2, and see if we can try to put together what we think Celebrini is going to do this year. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. Summer sports are in full swing, whether you're into baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high stakes soccer action. FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. FanDuel is a great way to track all your favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with daily new promotions. So there's always something fun to bet on. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right. Do want to thank you, of course, for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. If you haven't yet, perfect time to subscribe. Even though we're down 2-3 episodes a week right now, that doesn't mean we still have plenty of great stuff coming up. And next thing you know, training camp is going to be here, guys. And this year, I think it's going to be a pretty good year for San Jose. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right. So what should we kind of expect for year 2 Macklin Celebrini? So I did this whole thing last year, right, where I looked at every first overall pick and how they performed. Then we focused on the centers because, of course, Macklin Celebrini, noted center. So then I went back this year and I looked at what should we see for year number 2 for these guys. So here's famous centers in year number 2. So Connor Bedard, 24-25. We have Jack Hughes, 2020 to 2021. Asterisks with that because it was a COVID season, so it was only 56 games that year. We had Nico Hischier, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, also an asterisk with that one, the 2012-2013 season, as that was the coming out of the lockout where the NHL only played 48 games. You have John Tavares, Steven Stamkos, and Sidney Crosby. So pretty big names in here. You have Sidney Crosby, who, one of the greatest players to ever play in the NHL. Connor McDavid, also pretty good at hockey. Stamkos, John Tavares, put together wonderful careers. Nathan McKinnon, one of the best players in the NHL right now. Austin Matthews, one of the best U.S.-born players. Like there's a laundry list of amazing players in here. And for that year number 2, looking at kind of how some of these guys jumped in the next season, and a couple that really stood out for me, of course, Sidney Crosby going up to 120 points in 79 games, including 36 goals and 84 assists for 1.52 points per game in that season. Insane jump for Crosby, shows why he's so special. Connor McDavid also making a huge jump. So he missed the kind of half the season as a rookie, but then he ended up going playing the full season, 82 games, 30 goals, 70 assists for a nice even 100 points for 1.22 points per game. Austin Matthews dropped in goals, of course, because he scored like a bajillion goals his first season, but had a really, really solid season as well, but just like you seeing kind of some of the point production and focusing kind of on that, because that's a very easy, tangible, like how much more points did they score. So I threw out again Hughes and Ryan Nugent Hopkins because it's not, they just unfortunately weren't given an opportunity to play as many games. I kind of looked at how did each player improve or stay the same, or get worse or regress compared to the previous season. So looking at Bedard, Heischer, Matthews, McDavid, McKinnon, Tavares, Stamkos, and Crosby. So most of the players, like there was a little bit of influx or fluctuation between games played, which happens sometimes. Injuries happen, et cetera, et cetera. Like you can't control that. But overall, like you did see a jump in by about 2 games more games played per season, compared to your rookie years. The goal production, like Bedard, McDavid, McKinnon, or sorry, not McKinnon, Tavares, Stamkos actually all jumped in goals. Heischer, Matthews, McKinnon, and Crosby all dropped in goals and I think Crosby is by 1. But overall, there was a jump from up to 29 goals per game or per season for these guys. So the assists, there was massive jump here. Only Heischer and McKinnon both dropped. Matthews stayed the same. Everybody else's assists increased, as you would expect, because right, you're expecting these teams to start to get better as you're climbing out of having the first overall pick, and hopefully starting to see some production there. When it comes to total points, Bedard, McDavid, Tavares, Stamkos, and Crosby all saw their total points increase. Heischer saw his drop a little bit. Matthews saw his drop a tiny bit as well. McKinnon saw his drop, at least total raw points. Those guys saw those drop, but there was a big jump in points for that. And then the points per game, only Bedard and McKinnon saw a drop in points per game. In Bedard's, it was it was like 0.89 to 0.82. So it was pretty much in the same ballpark. And McKinnon just didn't have a great second season. And then ice time, everybody's ice time increased with the exception of Nathan McKinnon's that year. So you saw jumps in all those areas. So kind of looking at year 2 centers, right? Kind of the average here is a little bit better. Games played, they averaged about 75 games played. They averaged 29 goals, 45 assists for 74.6 points per total, at a points per game of 0.98. So right around that magical 1 point per game, averaging 19.24 time on ice. So like you definitely saw a big jump in comparison. And just as a reminder, what did it look like in year 1 for those seasons? Like it was 72 games played, 23 goals, 34 assists, 57 points at 0.79 points per game, averaging 17.38. So you did see very tangible growth from all these players, for the most part, with other than McKinnon, who had a bit of a drop down for unknown whatever reasons. Right, and there, if you do go back, there was a lot of concern about McKinnon as a potential bust type of candidate. I think Nathan McKinnon turned out pretty okay. So, but like you did see a lot of growth and development from these guys, and as they continue to get more ice time, earned more ice time, continue to grow their responsibilities, better team around, starting to kind of see that team increase, get a little bit better around them, and showed why they're number 1 overall picks. So what should we realistically expect from Macklin Celebrini in year 2? We'll get to that here in just 1 second. All right, before we finish up, do of course want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. When you're done with this episode, go check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There's no off season. We're still got 5 episodes out every week there. So we're bringing the daily league-wide stories that matter the most with local coverage that you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcast. All right, year 2 Celebrini. What should we expect from Macklin Celebrini? Right, we saw the jump in production for all these guys here. What if we're kind of following the same recipe? And again, Celebrini pretty close to hitting a lot of those benchmarks. What should we see in year 2 from him? And the one thing that's hard to is the ice time, right? Because all those guys saw like a lot of jump in ice time, and Celebrini was one of, especially compared to like Celebrini was already earning a lot of ice time. So I don't expect to see like there will be some more ice time from him, but I don't expect to see like a massive jump in ice time. Like for a guy who averaged 1947 time on ice last year, I expect it to be over the 20-minute mark, but like we're not going to see like a minute and a half, 2-minute jump that we saw from these guys. So probably more, a little bit more ice time. We're definitely, I expect to see Celebrini on the PK at some point this year. But like they're not going to, I don't think there's going to be a huge jump in ice time. I do think though, just from the increase in talent that the Sharks have, right? Will Smith in year 2, Eklund in another season. I think Jeff Skinner is going to help provide a little bit of scoring pop here. I think the defense is going to be better, and I think the goaltending is going to be much better than what we saw after the Mackenzie Blackwood trade. Like I do like there is a roadmap for the Sharks to start to make some strides this season. So let's get to it. What does the Celebrini season look like? So project him to play 72 games this year with 31 goals, 50 assists, 81 points at 1.12 points per game. Right, and that is taking basically the increase from year 1 to 2, the average is there, and taking that increase and adding it to all of Celebrini's stats. So, right, jumping up in 6 goals from year 1 to year 2, jumping up by about 12 assists from year 1 to year 2. So 18 points from year 1 to year 2, right? If I do my math correctly, and then taking that points and dividing it by your games played, you saw about a 0.2 points per game jump by all these players. So I think that these are very realistic expectations for Macklin Celebrini. I expect Macklin Celebrini to be a point per game player. I actually think the way he's built and put together, I think he'll probably push closer to 82 games than he will 7. If I had to take the over under on 72 games, I'm going to take the over on that with Celebrini. But again, like guys get hurt, guys get nicked up a little bit here and there. And and the way that kid trains though, like, I mean, we've heard about his season training from Tyler Toffoli. Like I fully expect Celebrini to come into camp and just be ready to go, and ready to kind of take the load on it and be that guy that we expect him to be. But, for realistic, I think a 30 goal season, 50 assists, get you around 80 points. I think that's a very realistic expectation for Macklin Celebrini, and especially with William Macklin in year 3 now. Macklin who's getting paid, really, got paid. His new contract doesn't start yet, but we're going to see more growth from Eklund. We're going to see more growth from Will Smith. We're going to talk about probably early next week. And like I said, I think this team does have some better pieces around it. Do I think they're marketably better? No, but I do think I think the goaltending will be a huge one. And the Sharks, I don't think you're going to be in the position to have to chase the game as much, where you might be down, 3-1 early in the second period and trying to kind of force things to kind of come back. I think they're going to be and again, we saw this team was in how many 1-goal games or 1 goals late, and then they ended up losing. I think with Celebrini, as he takes his natural kind of step in progression, I think you're going to see a lot of those 1-goal losses turn into 1-goal wins, which will be a huge part for Celebrini and for the Sharks team as they try to enter their fun and frisky phase, which I know some people don't like that term. I don't care. I think it's fun and frisky. But I like Celebrini this year. I expect him to take more of a leadership role. We already saw a lot of that leadership role last year as an 18-year-old. Who knows if he wears the captain at some point, but would you be surprised if by the end of the season, if Celebrini doesn't have a letter on his sweater, either after the trade deadline and they have to kind of pick some new and some other guys fill in or something like that? Like, I wouldn't be surprised just because of how special of a player he is, right? And just that leadership skill that he's already shown as an 18, now 19-year-old. And you people want to play with him and people want to follow him. And I think he's got, I've said it a million times, right? That third liner mentality with the skills of a superstar, right? That like, going to go into every battle. I'm going to go do what I can to help out. And you're going to have to drag me away from this kicking and screaming, because I think no matter what, no matter the odds, I think we still have a chance to win this, or a way to figure this thing out. And I think Celebrini is, I think all the world of Celebrini. I think he's going to be the Sharks captain, whether it's sooner rather than later. Who knows when they eventually put the C on him, but he's going to have a C on the front of his chest. And I just think the skill level is starting to slowly increase with the Sharks. And I think that's and Celebrini is also going to just start dragging people to more wins. And I think him and Askarov, to be honest, are the two big reasons why I think the Sharks will be better. I don't want to say a lot better, but I do think they will be noticeably better. And I think that will also, you'll see more of that in the wins and losses. And it's mostly because, Askarov, who I think is very good, and Celebrini, who I think is going to be one of the 5 best players in the NHL. And I don't think that's much of a hot take to say I think Macklin Celebrini is that good, especially after what we saw from this year. And if he continues to do everything that we saw last year and continues to be more efficient at it, and continues to get better. Yeah, man, sky's the limit for Celebrini. The sky is the limit for him. He is a a skyline altering type of player, right? There's a famous phrase about Peyton Manning where he changed the skyline of Indianapolis. I think Macklin Celebrini is that type of player for San Jose. We're literally going to change the skyline of San Jose because of how special of a player he is. Sidney Crosby, skyline changing player in Pittsburgh. Ovechkin, skyline changing player in Washington. I think Celebrini is going to be a skyline changing player for the San Jose Sharks. So, but yeah, we'll continue to kind of look back and start to look ahead with some of these young players coming up. Like I said, we'll probably do Will Smith early next week. We're going to be looking at Hao-Shea Wang later this week as well, as we continue to kind of dive into some of the prospects here. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Until Tuesday night. Bye, friends.